Yeah. Okay, brothers and sisters of IUM, thank you for your participating in today's online session. For your information, we are online in both via Zoom and YouTube channel. IIUM NFC competency for this session. So without further ado, I will welcome Brother Saiful Redza to share the session, staying positive and motivated throughout COVID-19 crisis talk. Welcome, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and a very good morning everyone. Thank you the moderator Brother Kim. And first of all, of course, thank you to the MSD for having me today this morning. To have one, I think, a very fruitful topic to discuss about stay positive and motivated during this COVID-19. Right, so allow me to introduce myself first. I'm Brother Saiful, a counselor from the Counseling and Career Services Center. So basically, the office, we have two portfolios. We're handling the counseling. Of course, speaking about counseling, we are more about supporting the well-being of our community and particularly our students. And the other portfolio here is actually career. That one, we are more to support the career development and of course to support the future employment of our students. And speaking about this COVID-19, of course, these two portfolio, it really gave a big challenge to us in terms of the well-being of the community. And speaking about the employment for our graduates out there. And of course, the office, we receiving a lot of demands, a lot of requests, of course, being pushed by the government itself, speaking about the employment. So COVID-19 is something that I would say is a big challenge for individual, for group, for organization, for country. It affects everybody in this world. Okay, so we thought about the psychological thing, how to be positive and stay motivated. And yeah, the slot giving to me is 45 minutes, and after this we have a Q&A. But I would rather to actually have a what we call earlier Q&A, so that I know what actually you're looking forward. What is your main concern, rather than I'm speaking alone here. I couldn't see all of you, just can see names there. But of course, I couldn't see your reaction. I don't know what would be the concerns. And feel free actually to write down your concerns. I would say I would prefer to have a casual conversation, a casual discussion among us, so that I could actually answer what are the things that you really want to know, and what are the things that, of course, you want to actually overcome. What are the hurdles? What are the issues that you face that we could actually support from the psychological counseling perspective? Okay, so you can write down in the chat box, or maybe you can just open your camera and feel free to actually speak your mind. All right, so as I said, the COVID-19 here is a new thing, is a big shock. And of course, we going through a number of difficulties there. And for some people, some of us, we are so unfortunate, we need to face a very terrible experience, to the extent some of us we are missing, and we're losing somebody that very, very important in our life. Let's take that kind of situation first. The worst, somebody may experience grievances. And I would say in the context of Malaysia itself, our society, some of us, we are dealing with very terrible grievances. Grievances is not something that we just need to focus when we are losing somebody that we love. Out there, we could find some of our friends, maybe some of our family members, some of neighbors, relatives, they're losing a job, losing a job. So losing a job could consider also part of the grievances when we are losing something that very, very significant, something that very important in our life. So that we could see grievances. So we shouldn't understand that grievances is only the moment that we are losing people or person that we love, as long as something that could give a significant impact to ourselves. Right. So that is the worst scenario. Okay. Of course, a number of adjustments need to be done. Speaking about grievances, when you're losing something, there are two things. Normally, you need to adjust your psychology. Uh, psychological state. Of course, the emotion there um, it's a blended feelings, dealing with sadness, sometimes blaming, sometimes we try to bargaining the situation, sometimes we accepting, but sometimes we agree with the situation. So grievances basically give us a blended feeling. So psychological, in the psychological state, not really stable. So that is the first challenge. The second challenge here is actually adjustment about our situation. Of course, when we are losing something, and speaking about, for example, job, being somebody who has a job and somebody has losing a job, two different things, definitely. Um, when you got a job, life just like a routine. Of course, you know what you need to do. As I said, routine. You just follow the norms that you are having every single day. But when you're losing a job, it's different thing. So you got a new norm. You need to overcome the emotion part, and you need to actually handling the new situation, whereby there's a lot of uncertainty. So that's the worst scenario. But in the context of RRUM, speaking about the COVID-19, I'm so sorry at this moment. I would say, uh, as an employee of RUM, majority, I would say we are not really being tested compared to the friends who working with the private sector out there. We even receive this kind of placing by having a 6 months uh, what we call 6 months duration that we are under this moratorium. We don't have a debt to for temporary debt. Okay, we don't have to pay temporarily to the funders, to the bankers out there. So um, it's different. Okay, and we still maintaining our job. We go to the university, we playing our role, and what it just I would say the scenario is different compared to the private. Um, yeah, we are blessed enough. Compared to some of the friends out there, for your information, I even do counseling to the working adults out there who losing their job, and some of them even came to me for 20 years. They didn't make up the resume, didn't update the resume, and then need to do new job hunting, and they are basically they're in a big loss. They're puzzled about the current job market. They are puzzled about their value in the current job market. They are struggling in terms of providing financial support to the family members. There was I experienced this when I came across the situation when somebody actually being fired, but still denying the fact and didn't tell to the family members, didn't tell to the wife, didn't tell to the children. Um, just go to work like usual, having the uniform, but actually out of place. They don't know where to go. Yeah, they don't know how to find a job at this current situation, and still faking, still hiding the truth, still couldn't accept the fact that being terminated by the employer. And speaking about being terminated is still another big issue for some people out there. They're still questioning why themselves, why not others, okay? Why the employer sacrificing them, why not their friends? That is another big issue. So psychologically being tested, yeah, hardly to actually speak about the situation. But the reality is that compared to us, we are blessed enough. We are coming to the university. We have, I would say, we have a big certainty compared to some of our fellows out there. But in terms of the motivation, is something that is a, I would say, is a common issues. Though we don't have the COVID-19, all right. Uh, it's evergreen issue, I would say, because motivation is something ups and down. Okay, it depends to the situation, it depends to you yourself. And psychologically, when we talk about motivation, we have the internal motivation, we have external motivation, of course. And some of the motivation sometimes no longer trigger your motivation. You need to update with the new one. So basically, um, speaking about this, it's very hard for me to speak on behalf of the IM in terms of what are the things that really challenge you, because I couldn't see at my personal level. I'm so sorry, I couldn't see a big issue that we as a staff of IUM, we couldn't produce something, though we have the COVID-19, because the situation is different. Compared to the other situation, as I said, the private people out there, I met number of HR people out there, I met number of friends out there, because my position, my role to support the employment among our students. Of course, I met number of companies, engaged with so many practitioners out there, and I could see how they suffer at this point of time. Um, right, that's why if we could actually discuss something, then I could elaborate and give some of the ideas from the um, counseling and psychological perspective. Okay, with regard to the COVID-19, how to stay positive and motivated. All right, just imagine that we don't have issues, but how are we going to actually make use of this COVID-19? I think that is something that we need to discuss about. Unless you think you got some concern, you have some difficulties, you're more than happy to actually write down and share here, and then we discuss about that. All right. Okay, so with regard to the COVID-19, what are the things that we able to actually take advantage? All right. I'm so sorry to use that word, because I know COVID-19 is a big issue, is a problem, by the way, but how come we see advantage? I would like to bring the perspective from the cognitive behavior therapy. This is one school of thoughts under psychology. Um, with psychology discipline, we always have number of school of thoughts. We actually having a different ideas how people actually suffering from uh, mental health issues, and how people actually grow. So there are a number of theories, basically. One of it is CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. So I love the idea to say that a problem is a problem if we think it is a problem. Okay, so let me repeat, a problem is a problem if we think it is a problem. So being a counselor, when I met number of clients, I discovered that people are having, of course, varieties of problem issues. Some actually within control, some beyond their control. Some of the problems and issue actually from the individual itself, and some of the problems or issue actually not came from the individual. It's from the external factors that really um, give a high impact in challenging their life, their growth. Okay, so people have variety of problems. Being a human being, of course, we have number of issues, number of problems. But from the CBT, they say that a problem is a problem if you think it's a problem. It's true. Um, it's true when I face a number of clients, I could see that uh, no matter how big the problem it is, okay, how you think really matter. How you define really matter. How you interpret the event really matter. That actually give you different acceptance level. Okay, so regardless, whatever it is a problem, acceptance is something that very important. So how you define, how you interpret the problem gives different level of acceptance, and how you interpret the event give you some of the ideas on how to cope, okay, with the situation. Some people, the problem they think as just something happened to trigger them to stand up, okay, to rebuild themselves, okay, and to actually really look something positive, and to actually create a success. But for some people, always think and see problem as just a big obstacle, so they are become the victim of the situation and full of hopelessness. Yeah, the way how we interpret, how we define the problem, of course, is a good thing to discuss here, because speaking about how we define things, how we cope, I mean coping strategies, it's something that we are actually not learning under formal education. Uh, in life, we have so many issues, but how we learn to cope, basically different. Okay, from one to another. It depends to our childhood experience. It depends to our exposure. It depends to the values imbued by our family members, for example. It depends to the values imbued by our society, our religion. So different people may have different coping strategies. And speaking about how we define, how we accept, how we actually battle with the problem also different. But from the CBT, interestingly, they define a number of belief system. Okay, the easy terminology here is actually negative belief system. Negative belief system always put you guys under negative consequence. So I would say the COVID-19 is something, of course, a problem that come to everybody, but it depends how you interpret, how you accept, okay, and how you're going to deal with it, and how you're going to battle with the COVID-19. Let's take a good example during the PKP, MCO. We have a long period of time, by the way, during the MCO. We didn't go to the office. We stuck at home. What else? We couldn't go out. We couldn't do shopping. We couldn't do traveling, and we couldn't do our normal activities. By the way, we couldn't do something interesting, but I don't know how you define interesting. Different people have different definition of interesting. Some people going out interesting, some people staying at home is actually interesting. But under the MCO, we discovered that number of people actually under stress because of a big adjustment happen, especially those who actually having what we call this kind of norms, always join external activities, outdoor activities. Of course, is a big issue here. But for some people during the PKP, during the MCO, we discovered that MCO really give valuable time for them, at least to stay connected with the family members. Being able to actually taking care of their kids, being able to see how the kids grow 24 hours in front of them. I mean, have a close connection. Okay, um, yeah, we're not denying without PKP, without MCO, we also close with our kids. But situation is different. They go to school, you go to work. The moment they return home, they do their homework. Sleepy, they go to sleep. We also go to sleep. Sometimes we just have time during the weekend, but the weekend sometimes the kid also got activities. But during MCO, you know what? The challenging part, every family members, we start at home together, and that really challenging in terms of, for example, for parents. We are becoming the real educator at that point of time. We see how our kids grow. We learn about their personality. We learn about their learning abilities. We learn about how they value the family system. And we also actually learn about ourselves, how far that we are very sensitive to support our kids' development, how creative we are to actually engage with them, setting activities, setting effective learning system, uh, setting a situation or platform where all the family members, kids, spouse, and everybody are actually happy to be a one big family. So um, during the MCO, of course, you find the hurdles, you find the issues, but at the end of the day, it comes back to your definition, how you're going to make use the situation for your growth. Um, about me myself, for example, allow me to share my experience. So during the MCO, I would say that is a blessed time because I have more time with my kids. I see how they grow. I see their learning abilities, and actually it challenged me to see how effective I am. Okay, as a father, how far I have the very effective parenting skills. How far that I'm really creative to support my kids' development. And speaking about the MCO, we have ample time, and I go online and search for the information, and I discovered that wow, actually there's so many YouTube channels. Yeah, some's good, some not, and I could see how the young generation making money, how they're using digital platform as a new job for them, new career for them, how they're using all these digital platform as a what we call as a medium to actually preparing themselves for the future career. And I noticed about YouTube, for example, give a lot of things. It depends how you see things, definitely. But I discovered that the youngsters they actually developing so many channels, and how YouTube could actually be a big challenge to the mainstream one for the big TV like Astro, how actually the YouTube could actually what we call dispute the conventional career, for example. So I even experienced one. I learned how to setting a YouTube channel and how to make a video, how to become a producer. It's not an easy job, but at least there's something that we discovered that experience something, learn something. It's not something easy just as what we see, we feel it's easy. It's not really easy for us. Not all people have the abilities. Not all people have the competencies, skills. And something that very, very important here is actually passion. So uh, I discovered about myself at that particular time. And something good about the MCO, because we have more time to do more readings. Um, I do a lot of readings, by the way, speaking about the digital, because I need to update myself. I met so many companies out there because there are so many meetings, there's so many engagement out there. So I need to equip myself with the latest technology, with the latest information, and what happened with the current economy system, the new landscape of businesses, and the new trend of the jobs. And I discovered there are so many free courses for us to take. For example, Coursera, Udemy, even Microsoft. Currently, they're doing a lot of free online courses. But how far we are actually taking advantage within this period of time to actually equip ourselves, upgrading ourselves. And that's the matter I discovered. There's so many people still unaware about this. There's so many free platforms out there giving you very professional certification that can actually support a better career progression. But I discovered there's so many people actually still don't know the existence of this platform. So that will be the example. How we think issue as an issue, how you think problem as a problem, and the most important thing here is actually for us to actually define the things positively. And then, of course, as you define positively, you're going to have a big drive. You see things positively, and of course, you're going to have a good motivation. But if you don't have all these kind of things, life would be just like a routine, like a normal norms. We go, I mean, we wake up every single morning, we're preparing ourselves, we just go to work 8 to 5, we just waiting for our bosses to tell us what to do. When times come, we return back home, we meet our family members, business as usual. So for me, sometimes normal norms could be a boring thing. The normal norm for some people could actually lead to frustration, lead to stress. Okay, so what we need to do here is actually to have a big mindset, right? Like I said earlier, I'm not interested to speak about the problem, of course, because I always educating and train my client to stay positive and look at things positively. But Alhamdulillah, I would say during this period of time, within this period of time, speaking about the COVID-19, um, we have less stuff to speak about the problem issue with regard to the COVID-19. As I said, we are blessed. We are not what we call seriously affected or severely affected by the COVID-19. But the main concern that I'm worried about here is actually for us who just being a normal individual, regardless you have a problem or not, regardless of COVID-19 or not, business run as usual. That actually worry me. If you don't have a motive, you don't have direction, uh, you don't have the aim. So that is actually a big problem. Okay. Um, well, I would say this is fair enough as an introduction. I'm hoping for some response and feedback on that. I can see a number of names, but of course I couldn't see your reactions. And again, I don't know what is your main concerns here, but let's have the fruitful conversation here, discussion here. What are the things that you think COVID-19 maybe could improve yourself if you don't have a problem? And I'm going to add on from the psychological, from the counseling perspective. Okay. So I'm waiting. I'm hoping somebody going to respond. So we have more than 100, alhamdulillah. I underestimate this webinar. I thought it's below 50. It's 100, 104. So hello guys. What are the things that you really get the benefit during this COVID-19? Because I'm so sorry, like I said earlier, we are not a private company, we are not MNC, we are not SME who badly affected. to the extent that our salary being cut, we are losing job. We need to explore new ideas, new job market, upskilling ourselves, reskilling ourselves, updating our resume, and looking for new job. I don't think that we have that kind of issues. But Alhamdulillah, I discovered some of our friends, they actively do the hustle job, side hustle, the part-time job. They try to do services as a gigster. This is under gig economy because currently all of us, we have the social media. And I discovered some of our friend here from IUM selling product, they do services. That's a good enough. Okay, at least venture the new skills, exploring a new industry, and of course you may have a new competency, I guess. And I discovered that some of our friends, some of our fellows here from IUM, having new hobbies with the MCO, be more creative in terms of cooking. They share some of the recipes, dishes through the social media. Some do the workouts. Okay, there's a very positive coping strategies, I guess. All right. We don't have to wait until 45 minutes. Again, what are the things that we can share here? Everybody keep quiet. This is okay. This is a big challenge for speakers out there, like or to the trainers out there, or people like me, even lecturers, I think. With the COVID-19, we are now get used to this online webinar. We get used to the online webinar. But the big challenge for the trainers out there, for the speakers out there, we are speaking in front of the camera. We couldn't see people reaction. I couldn't even listen to your voice, except for the moderator earlier on. All right. It's a big challenge also for me to keep speaking. And again, like I said, I don't know what is actually your concern to stay positive and motivated. Stay the chat box. There's no one right down here. All right, so okay, this one. Okay, this one. Although not directly affected, issues coming from family due to the COVID matters might also taken a toll to some of us. How do we come out? How do we explain ourselves to our colleagues so they could understand us? Maybe some of the masala and taking care of kids and so on. All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. This is a very good question. Like I said earlier on, even I even said about this. It may happen to some of our family members, and it may affect us. Oh yeah, I'm not denying that. Of course, if one of the family members being affected, for example, I give the issues of employment, for example, of course, situation will also affect us. Okay, so how are we going to overcome? Like I said, the CBT technique, the first thing first is actually having acceptance. Having acceptance is something that very important. If we couldn't accept the reality, we still blaming the situation, number one, and we still again think ourselves as a victim. When we have the idea that we are the victims, it's very difficult for us to actually um, what we call bangun daripada masalah, wake up from the problem and start doing something. Okay, so we need to accept the fact it happened, it affects us. So now what? Is always have the positive mindset. Think about something different. Don't think about problem, but think about the opportunities. In psychology, in CBT, We always train client with the issue. Yes, is a problem. It happened already. We need to accept the fact we couldn't get rid this situation. So now, what's next? The what's next here is actually how to actually shift the idea of problem to be an opportunity. For example, maybe this will be the great time for us to start discuss serious matter, reunite as a family, and we need to actually understand and consider each other, the role of each other, to the extent that we need to actually educate our children, our kids, how bad the situation and how we need to change the lifestyle. We need to change the expenses. We need to break the norms and we need to apply and establish the new norm. So it's a good thing, by the way, to see how we unite as a family members, how we being supportive as a family members, how we supporting each other, how we actually overcoming as a big thing, as a strong team. Okay, that will be number one. The second one, of course, that improve our communication skills and how we need to actually be more empathy, be more sensitive to our partner, how we're going to motivate our partner, how we're going to actually assist our partner to solve the matter. All right. And speaking about communication, that may also involve how we're going to deal with our colleagues. But something that I want to emphasize here, we don't put the target people have to understand. A lot of my clients, I discovered how people can simply suffering from mental health issues when you expecting people to understand you. Normally it happens that way. When you expecting your bosses to understand you, when you expecting your uh, colleagues to actually understand you, bear in mind, not all people will understand you. Even some people give worse feedbacks as what you not expected about. Okay, have in mind we need to actually develop a mental resilience here. The drive that you need to put, or the drive that you need to establish, how you or yourself or the family members are actually grow with the problem, not people to understand. Bear in mind, sometimes when people do understand your situation, that doesn't help you to grow. Sometimes you need people who rejecting you. That's the reality. Because when people comfort you, you normally won't grow because you easily feel comfortable. Sometimes you need people who rejecting you, people who not buy in with your idea. People always put big challenge to you. So you will always find ways, means how to overcome the matter, how to actually um, yeah, not to make sure these people understand how to actually prove that you worth, how to actually prove with what you're standing for. So you normally grow. Okay. Um, Speaking to others is not a guarantee, but at least make you believe. You can have a try to make sure that people understand. But what I'm trying to emphasize here, don't put that as a mean, right? Um, yeah, always looking something difficulty. There must be something that Allah want us to see. Allah put issues for us to grow. Okay, how to help people around us who experience excessive worriness and paranoid on his or her condition due to this pandemic. Okay, a very good question. Um, First of all, we need to understand here, worry and paranoid is two different things. Okay, excessive worry, worry and paranoid is different thing. Worry, I would say that most people they are worried about when they have something unpleasant, when something that not comfortable, especially issue, of course we are worried about. But paranoid is different. Paranoid, when you always have the idea, the thought that people rejecting you, people happy with you, people put blame on you. Speaking about paranoid, what I can say, if it is really excessive, um, how you going to support? Of course, as a normal people, you have a limited idea about what's happening in terms of psychology. But what you can actually do, at least you listening and you advise this person to seek for professional help, at least to have proper diagnosis. To what extent the worry, because we worry if they worry too much, it could be a level of anxiety. If a paranoid too much, we worried some elements, some symptom of the psychological concern there. So do proper diagnosis, then we know. And normally psychiatrists, if the situation really was, they're going to offer some medication on that and have a proper intervention with clinical psychology. So what we can do, just listening and advice. All right, thank you, Saiful, for this. Because I have one question concerning motivation. The others, maybe we are positive and we use our time positively. How, based on your experience, how we can motivate and be more useful to our students, especially psychological and mentally. We are in the contact with them all the time, but we need some suggestion to deal with that. Right. Uh, it's a very good question. How to actually give motivation to our students? All right. The first thing first, we need to understand who is actually our student, and we need to understand about their generation. The generation is different. I would like to emphasize about this. Being an educator, being a lecturer, being a teacher at this period of time is really challenging because the motivation are different compared to our time, compared to the previous generation. They are fragile. They know a lot of things. They access to so many things. They get things instantly compared to previous times. So speaking about motivation, how to give motivation to them, you need also understand their motivation. This generation, the motivation are different. There's some people ask me, Saiful, why the current generation, they are so fragile, they not like the previous generation. Of course, if we comparing the current generation and previous generation, I would take a simple example. Hey, transportation. That is a very simple example. Previous generation, in order to go somewhere, you need to prepare yourself. You need to discipline yourself. You're going to take a bus, for example. Imagine you're going to take a bus. You know what will be the time that bus come across, pick up at the station, and you need to prepare yourself. You need to go earlier to the bus stop, and you need to wait for bus, of course. And nobody could guarantee that how long that you're going to wait. Um, it could be half an hour. It could be even more than an hour. But you standing at the bus stop, you're waiting for the bus, and you need to be creative how to make use of the time because there's no smartphone at that particular time. The most, maybe you are talking with somebody, or maybe you speak to strangers who also waiting for the bus. So you develop a good communication skill, high resilient. And we don't speak about while waiting is a heavy raining, whatever the situation that really put you discomfort at that particular time. But the moment the bus arrive is another challenge. Um, there's no one could guarantee that you're going to find your seats. Maybe you're going to stand from the moment, the point that you pick up the bus to the destination. Sometimes you need to stand for more than an hour to reach your destination. But compared to the current generation, when they're about to go somewhere, they don't have to prepare early. They just prepare themselves. Okay, when they're ready, they just get into the car, and the parents, basically parents ready, and parents are prepared earlier, for example. So they just sit down, uh, have a comfortable seats. For some parents, these days they have a sophisticated vehicle with the video, nice sounds, and nice music. So, how we speak about the resilience, how we speak about the motivation. Many years back, when people go study for a higher level of education, here is actually to change the economic system of the family for better living. Many years back, when people studied at the higher level, they always wanted to be somebody better than their parents. They want to contribute something to the family. They want to change the family system in terms of economic status. But these days, the motivation are different. So you need to study their motivation. Number one, the motivation, sometimes I would say, from my experience being a counselor, sometimes we discover there's so many students here, they're studying something, but they don't know the drive. I asked a lot of students, why are you taking this course? They puzzle, they couldn't answer. So what more to speak about motivation? So being a lecturer, being a teacher, or being a tutor, a trainer, number one, you need to make sure that the one that you are teaching really spark their motivation. They need to understand the context of the discipline that you are teaching, where the discipline could actually bring them, okay, far greater. It's not just teaching according to the course outline. So normally when you teaching from the course outline, you are the one who passionate about the topic that you're going to deliver, but not your students, for example. So we need to understand our student first, the general motivation for the current generation. Then you know how to overcome. Even back then, even we are actually work from home, the working environment, the routine caused a distress to some of us since then. The staff productivity has changed. Up until this time, we started to work at office again. Is there any way for us to be comfortable in our routine again? The delay of the task, project, event because of this also caused extra headache to staff. All right. Okay, you too. I have a question. I work at the hospital. We already know our hospital got affected during Ayah, and some colleagues were traumatized even so many times. All these events make them connect to the extent until they refuse to send their kids to school, even afraid to come to work as they believe the hospital is the easiest place to get control. So how to consult them? Okay, uh, we got two questions here, by the way. The first is speaking about the productivity, um, how to be comfortable in our routine again, okay? Because some of the delay of the project, task, event, yes. Well, um, the first thing first, as I said, we need to accept the reality, the fact happened. We need to accept the problem first. But the second thing is something that very important for us to understand. We are not going to allow problem as a problem. Okay, we know some of the projects, some of the things delay. It happened to me as well. Some of the projects, some of the program, some of the program that we have planned is a very complicated planning. It's very comprehensive program. Need to be delayed, postponed. Yeah, we need to catch up. Don't blame the problem. Don't blame everybody. Stay away from the blaming. That's number one. Okay, as I said, sorry. Number one, acceptance. Number two, don't blame. Of course, or you can put don't blame. Number two is actually acceptance, because as you don't blame others, you're going to accept the reality. Okay. Number three, something that very important here is actually to develop skills. Sometimes the problem happens for us to develop ourselves. As I said, to develop ourselves. How we going to be more effective in terms of time management, in terms of communication, or the other part, some people do actually empower their mental resilience, because things happen. things are beyond control. They try to push themselves, but still they couldn't go through the situation. They couldn't fix the situation. How are you going to train yourself to be cool, to relax, to accept the fate, to accept the fact that you have done your best? Okay, forgiving yourself is something that's very important, but not making excuse. Okay, that's also kind of development. So actually, different people may have a different coping strategies, but what I'm trying to say, your mind is something that's very important to interpret the situation. So you're not blaming others. You not put yourself as a victims. It affect everybody. You try your best. Okay, and let hope for the best. That is the worst. I give you the worst scenario when things are actually all beyond control. At least you have done your best. Still, we speak about things that we couldn't change. Here is actually the fact 16 minutes for 1 hour and 24 hours a day for a day. And due to the COVID-19, we have limited time. Okay. But something that we need to think about here is actually how to apply good communication to our bosses. That is another matter. How to make sure that our bosses really accept the fact and be more considerate that that is not an excuse. We have done our job, we have done our best, and this is not an excuse. We presented in our best level, and we need to be creative, of course, to find replacement. Again, that could be also part of the solution. Be creative how to find a replacement for the project that being affected badly due to the COVID-19. It's not just to say that, okay, we postpone or we cancel. Yes, easy to do that, but how are you going to replace? Okay, so normally bosses, they want outcome, they want output. So if you couldn't give what you're supposed to give, so what would be the replacement? So I think that is something very important for us to ponder and think about, right? Rather than we keep on pushing the initial project, but situations actually beyond our control. Hopefully I'm answered. Speaking about members, okay, the second question here is actually friends, of course, who are being affected with the hospital environment, looking how people being swabbed. Of course, create worriness and not to send your kids, the kids to the school. Um, yeah, incident or event could actually give impact to individual. It depends to the interpretation, of course. After a couple of incident events, you develop negative idea, or you develop, maybe not negative idea, but more caution about the situation. Of course, it's not your fault. After facing or go through the situation over and over, of course, we may develop the idea, and we may have different level of cautions. So uh, how to actually overcome this is very challenging. If they're still afraid to go in cognitive behavior therapy, it's not easy to actually dispute the belief system, but we can do that gradually. So what you need to do here is actually exposing the kids, or you advise them to undergo the CBT technique, systematic desensitization. Systematic desensitization is actually a process where we break the habit, or we do kind of intervention to change the belief system. So don't push these people to send their kids to the school immediately. No. So there are some stages that you need to follow. Expose little by little exposure. To the end, eventually they develop the idea is secure. So how are we going to do that? For example, expose the kids to the public area with your presence, definitely, and slowly educating the kids how to take care of themselves. And then return back home, take the necessary actions, do all the cleaning part. Okay, then go again for a longer period of time to the public area and again educating your kids, and come back to the process, return back home, do all the cleaning process, and slowly exposing to the other place, or maybe go to, when come to the time, go to the school maybe one day and see what happened next. Not stop schooling, okay? When stop schooling is a different thing lah. But the whole idea here is actually systematic desensitization here is actually telling people that actually we can do that, and how to break their belief system is actually don't go to the extreme level. Okay, give you example lah. The easy example, stop smoking. People who have this idea smoking for so many years, tiba-tiba you ask them to stop for tomorrow, no way, they couldn't do that. So it start with maybe kalau satu hari satu kotak, maybe one day just few cigarettes, maybe half of the kotak gitu ya, okay, half of it lah, and then slowly reduce the numbers, slowly reduce. That will be the things, the whole idea. I simplify the systematic desensitization. Efficient. Alhamdulillah, I am concerned on the staff motivation. I have one question on how to manage toxic positivity. The toxic positivity. The situation where we are working with good environment, with good support system, and having very positive team members. But at certain point, when everybody are so positive and optimistic, it could be a silent killer of members' motivation. Wow. Because sometimes too much positive will give harm or stress to certain people. So can we handle this kind of situation? Well, I would say that you are blessed. You are blessed with positive environment. You shouldn't look positive environment as something that kills the motivation. The point here is actually don't compare yourself. That's all. When we are actually dealing with situation, stop comparing yourself. Everybody do your own progress. Feel good with your own progress. You got a salary, you being paid, but think about what you being paid. Is that worth enough? Okay, so speaking about barakah, that's all about the rizki that you have, and stop comparing yourself. But if you have somebody who really positive, that is actually blessing, by the way, because you can learn from them. If I were to give you a choice, you prefer to have somebody who positive or negative? Of course, definitely. Having a positive people, you are actually being blessed. There's so many people out there, even what being said, I couldn't remember. It's not, I'm so sorry, is a hadith or what being said by the Sahaba. Actually, stay with good people and you're going to be good. So, but I don't know how you're going to get you got the term toxic positivity. All right. So you're being blessed. It's just a matter. Don't compare yourself. Do your job. Feel good with your progress, and develop yourself. How do we make ourselves always think positive apart from being surrounded by positive thinking colleges? How do we make ourselves always positive? All right. Speaking about mindset, it's not going to happen automatically. Actually, our personality being developed ever since we were little kids. Even speaking about the theory of personality, 20 or maximum of 30% of the personality actually from the genetic, biological. But 70 up to 90% of the personality actually based on the environment, okay, what you're being exposed. And of course, the moment that we grow up, actually is not only physical growth, the mindset also, and we being trained without we aware about it. But luckily for the psychology students or counseling students, you undergo this formal education. You learn the theory about and some of the ideas about how people develop ideas in terms of developing the coping strategy. So positive mindset is something, number one, you need to learn. You need to learn. You currently there are so many free courses. Even I check, if you were to go to Coursera, these free courses, positive psychology. Positive psychology is something that very interesting. It's a kind of latest theory under psychology to speak about. Don't speak about problem, speak about positive feeling, okay, positive thought, and how to have a big hope for future. So it's actually free course. You go to Coursera, you just Google Coursera, you're going to find a lot of free courses. And one of it here is actually how to train your mind. So speaking about keep positive is a part of training. You need to train yourself. And you can speak to counselors, you can speak to clinical psychologists how to train yourself. Sometimes it's something that very interesting. You could find this a professional. You take some psychometric tests to check your cognitive pattern. Okay, there are some psychometric tests to check how far you are actually dealing with this unpleasant situation, what type of person you are. Okay, so something is very interesting also for you to actually, before learning, you actually learn about yourself, take some psychometric tests, check your pattern, and slowly talk with a professional how to overcome it, how to improve your thinking styles. All right. How can we develop coping mechanism when experiencing anxiety or panic attack? Okay, especially when triggered with uncertain situation. Okay, yeah, I would say we are so lucky currently. Our generation, we speak freely about this because many years back, many people they didn't understand about this anxiety. Kadang-kadang dia cakap orang ni mengada-ngada je, but that is actually part of the psychological issues. Having anxiety, but panic attack is different. Panic attack, I couldn't remember what the exact number. It could be happen one ratio dia satu dalam berapa. Memang some people they don't understand about panic attack. Out of sudden, sometimes speaking about panic attack, there's no reason kena panic attack. Ada orang memang tak ada reason, tiba-tiba kena. But with the panic attack, it could develop anxiety actually. Okay, give you scenario, the panic attack ni tiba-tiba the sweating, heartbeat getting so fast, and tangan sejuk cold, okay, and selalu ni sesak nafas lah, rasa macam nak pitam. The worst memang ada yang pitam pun. But after that happen, because benda ni tak pernah berlaku, tiba-tiba you develop the idea and you actually so puzzled about yourself to the extent you thinking, there's no answer, and that answer lead to anxiety, especially pergi kepada tempat yang terkena panic attack tu, because you try to associate the situation. Okay, so if you really have this, you need to speak with professional psychiatrists and clinical psychologists. I would suggest you to undergo a comprehensive clinical diagnosis. Number one is something that very important, diagnosis. Why? By having a proper diagnosis, you know your level. Okay, so after that, what diagnosis? What we could offer you is actually the other dua lah. Kadang-kadang for the side of the psychiatrist, if the situation really bad, really worse, dia mungkin offer medication. But the psychological intervention is something that very helpful. What you can do, as I said, systematic desensitization is one of the techniques. Normally clinical psychology dia boleh buat. I give you example macam takut pada public area. Anxiety ni dia banyak jenis pula kan. Dia ada banyak jenis. But speak about, for example, the easiest example macam public anxiety. Takut berada pada tempat-tempat orang. So don't push yourself to go there. Okay, you need to develop your strength first. You need to expose yourself level by level. Okay, so normally the clinical psychologists, they're going to help you. They're going to fix the idea dulu, the thought dulu. As I said, CBT kan, I lupa nak cakap, CBT stand for Cognitive Behavior Therapy. So they develop the idea first. They check your idea first. What will be the faulty belief system? Okay, because whatever here, it may affect your emotion, it may affect your behavior. Yang kita nampak tu di luaran hanya behavior saja, but what inside emotional and your mind, we couldn't see it. But most of the problem came from here. So they're going to check your idea about the situation first. All right. So as the idea the well developed, more positive, kemudian dia akan bentukkan behavior. In terms of behavior, as I said, systematic desensitization, they got process by process. Okay, so that is the general answer. Hopefully it answer, but it's something cured. Okay, dia bukan benda long lasting lah, insyaAllah.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Brother Saiful, for the meaningful sharing session just now. For the participant, if you have any question to ask to Brother Saiful, later can directly email him or can directly email their office. So thank you, Brother Saiful.
Okay, thank you also for having me. Hopefully, really helpful to all of you guys. But if you have more concern, do reach out our office, and you can also email me. Thank you.
Okay, for the next session, I would like to welcome Associate Professor Dr. Nora Mat Zin, Head of Department Psychiatry, Kulliyyah of Medicine, IUM. Without further delay, please welcome, Prof. Okay, please.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you to MST who invited me to share and to talk about the topic that I'm supposed to share is the positive and motivated during COVID. And I'm a psychiatrist. I have few slides to share. But thank you to Brother Saiful because of some of the things that probably that I might discuss has been said by him. Thank you to organizer too, because I think that this time, this era whereby the COVID-19 actually has given such a great impact to many aspects of our life. However, I would like to share my slide. I will start with, right. Can you see my slide?
Not yet, Doctor.
Not yet, sorry. I have to go. Okay. Now can?
All right, clear, Doctor.
Okay.
Okay.
So I may not be known because I'm from Kuantan currently. I am the consultant psychiatrist and also head of department in psychiatry. I am Kuantan. Banyak makan durian, sakit tekak sikit. So I'll start with the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. This is the quote from Alan Watts. Yeah, so we have to dance with COVID-19 as much as he wanted us to dance with him. Yeah, I call it him because of we don't know the virus whether male or female, but it has lots of strain and different mutation has been happening. So we have to dance with COVID-19. So how does it change our life? COVID-19. So even I choose this template because it sounds nice to look at the bigger picture in front of us that can create anxiety, uncertainty, but we do not know that perhaps what we are having now is much more valuable to go through. So COVID-19 was, I'll talk about a little bit about COVID-19 because it is important to stay positive by knowing what is the latest, what is named by the COVID-19. So CO is for corona, VI is a virus, D is the disease, and 19 is the year of occurrence started in China, and it becomes a pandemic by the January 2020. So this virus is not a new virus. It is part of the viruses that come into as a public health concern when we have SARS, we have MERS-CoV. It is similar in the same family. So updated last night, I think around 10 o'clock last night. So the coronavirus has reached 2 million population. The death is 810, and so recovered is 16,000. So these are the things that I used to follow every day because it just keep me updated and being aware about the present situation. This is one of the tips that I use that to get updated, just to get to know, but life has to go on. Okay. So impact of COVID-19, everybody knows what is happening. It's global health impact, physical, psychological. The physical part, the virus has invaded the pulmonary system. Patient people may be asymptomatic, do not have any symptoms, but they are physically well, but they didn't know even they are the carrier for the COVID-19. But the global health impact is actually tremendous, and it does causes the economy burden as well. So we have to prepare for the medication, for the ICU, for the physical, and for the staff manpower. So the global health impact. And the psychological impact is either individually or is it at the community level as well. The people are scared, fear. When I just want to share that because I'm a doctor, so every day I have to go to hospital. So when it is the government announced of PKP in March 2000 this year, I was coming back from the ward around 8 o'clock or 7:30, 8 o'clock like that. So the thought that came to me is, Ya Allah, this is like kiamat. This is the end of the world because of nobody's on the road. Practically, I'm alone. And the surrounding is so creepy. So that kind of emotion that I felt that time. But as I said, life has to go on, and we allow the experience, the emotion, the thinking to be with us. All right. So what is the economy burden? Economy burden, I think people lose their job. Business has to be shut down. Many people lost their job, and this is economy burden, which probably later we can add on the social issues. What about the environment? This is the interesting part, because when the people are not so busy, then we allow the other creatures that we share this world with us, the animal, the plant started to grow, and the pollution become less. And partly this is what probably Allah has destined, so that the environment becomes stable. With lots of, before this we are having problem with the ozone, with the pollution, and what are the changes? Quarantine, lockdown, new norm. We can expect all these things causes lots of psychosocial impact as well. We it does not only affect the person who is diagnosed to have COVID-19. Some of our staff diagnosed to have COVID-19, they are being quarantined, it's being locked down. Then after that, we come with the new norm. We can go out, but with the new norm, we have to wear mask whenever needed. And if you don't not wear mask, you're gonna get 1,000 fine recently. But is this the new norm is for us to be good or to be bad or to be better? Actually, the new norm is something that we should embrace now because life has to go on. The new working style. We have to prepare as a lecturer as well. Lecturer has to be in front of the computer to talk. My patient is talking to himself or talking to herself. I do feel like sometimes I am talking to myself. I can't see the student, I just see the slide. Don't know whether they are sleeping, whether they are listening. And then after some time, the ergonomy issues started to come because of, it's really tiring. And I'm sure that the lecturers and the staff has to embrace this new norm to work sometime from home. And then the lecturers for sometimes become slow, cannot keep up with the IT. Although I can see that many the working environment in UIA actually supporting class by class the how the lecturers can make full use of ITs. And then there's a one term that probably give another, we call it social media infodemic. Okay, so not just pandemic, but the social media infodemic. Lots of information comes to us. We do not know whether it's right or wrong. And we receive one message, after that, another message shows fake news. So we are not sure which one to follow. And all this all of this created some feeling of stressful, fearful, panicky. And so I got some from my literature and from my observation as a clinician as well. These are the certain situation occur during pandemic. Stress, stress is not bad at all, because you can have good stress. Life without stress, I'm not sure. The stress is actually the physical symptoms that happen to our body to adjust with the situation. So it may not be bad at all, but stress which is not being coped and managed properly, that will be a problem. Fear, we are living in fear, whether we are going to be contracted by the disease. Are we going to pass it to anyone? So if let's say my COVID-19 patient who was referred to us in our clinic, when we did, some of us develop panic disorders, and they become very unhappy, depressed, because the society starts to stigmatize them. And if, let's say, you are working with any organization and you are found to be contracted with the COVID, so that I think many of us will have this kind of, how do I start back my work? How do I go back to work? Will my friends accept me? Because the stigmatizing, I think this is and at one time I do feel like the stigma is more than the stigma that initially that we have on the HIV. All right, phobia can be another. You become very scared, scared to go out, scared to come to the office probably. And let's say you Even you sneeze or cough is being sinful nowadays. So so people become so fear. But all this fear that I noticed from my personal observation, it happens according to what the government said. If during the strict PKP last time or MCO, I think people just confined in their house. At that time, another issues rise. But now we started to see people start to go out. Things slowly go back to normal, but still follow SOP. But some are still are still having difficulties to adjust. Anxiety, depression, yeah, this is also we become anxious with our future. Nowadays, many since the financial burden will become more prominent from if let's say the more our spouse or some of us lost job. We are still in UIA. Our salary is being paid. But it also depends. Let's say if the situation doesn't improve, we have to be ready for any adjustment that's going to make by our university, I guess, because of it will still depend on lots of the situation. Okay, behavioral issues, obsession, suicidal. It's also I can see this that people become more obsessed with their cleanliness. So some funny things we heard that even you have to take bath many times, and addiction also an issue in this situation. What kind of addiction that I highlight here is actually more towards behavioral addiction. When the people cannot go out as usual, so they are stuck with their social media, they are stuck with the internet. So there's a lot, and to get pleasure by and to cope with this, they just do all this browsing and sometimes get hooked to the social media, and this is where we call it the internet addiction. Exacerbation of the pre-existing problems of mental health, such as if the person already on the medication or treatment for psychiatric illness, for psychological issues, so because of the COVID, this is exacerbate their conditions. So they become relapses, although they keep on taking the medication, but with the fear and stress that triggered their problem, their condition. So after the PKP, we can see that during PKP we try to not to make the places are crowded. But until now, also we still practice the the new norms. Number 6, loneliness. We feel the loneliness can occur at this time because we can't go out to do our usual social activities. Those who likes to do Zumba, they cannot do Zumba physically, but I heard people do Zumbas online, which is good. That means that it's still maintaining the positivity. Number 7 is FOMO. FOMO is a short form for fear of missing out. So when the fear of missing out means we have fear that we cannot cope with that, we miss many things during COVID. So we stuck and stick to the social media. That is where also can become like we just browse, we go to the Facebook, Instagram, and this is the issues, fear of missing out. Number disruption of development for the children, and each of these age group, the workers, the marginal population, the marginalized population like Rohingya, so all are affected. And for the children, their development in the psychosocial development also affected because of they can't go to playground, they can't go to school. Even few days after the PKPP or the pemulihan part, when the children started to go to school, some of them, I mean, some of my colleagues, friends who has children, the children, their son and daughters came back with the feeling of distressing. And they say, I'm not happy to go to school because I can't talk, I can't play, because they have to really, really strict for the social distancing. But children are easy are easy to adjust. So by doing some plays, activities, so that later on they can adapt with that situation. Difficulties is when we have reached certain level of age, like a middle age or elderly part. This is quite difficult. It's a little bit problem to adjust because we have had our usual routine. Okay, now so I'm supposed to talk about positivity, yeah. So just to usual in the context of workplace, what is the sign of psychological distress or mental health issues happen? Apart from the behavioral change that we can see in the person, we can also take up some of the cues or clues that this is probably a sign for psychological distress at workplace. Absenteeism started to have EL, sick leave on Monday, or they probably got Monday blues on Monday. They call up, I'm having headache. I have stomach ache, some sort of frequent MC, especially on the early and the end of the week. Presentism, you come to work, but non-productive. Where you just come and you go into the website, your job get never done. Procrastinate, you just delay your work. Doesn't want to do it. You know that you have to do, but you just keep delaying the work. Irritability, yeah, but snap to person easily, and frequent sick leave, I've mentioned about that. So MSD or supervisors or even colleague has to ask if you see the pattern of frequent sick leave among the workers. Poor focus and poor concentration is evident by making mistake. If you are the admin assistant, probably your bosses has to ask you many times that you still do the same mistake. And not only that, what is the danger of poor concentration or forgetfulness is we become accident prone in the workplace or even on the road, at home. Forgetfulness, another one, yeah. You forget that you probably has whether you have switch off the lights, you have switch off you have switch off not only the light, you have turn off the gas stove, all these things. So it become dangerous. And behavioral change, apart from that, is poor appetite, cannot get sleep properly, and also increase in smoking for those who didn't smoke before. And apart from this, also cognitive, physical, and the physical sign is mainly gastritis, a bloated sensation, panicky, palpitation sometimes. Okay, this is very small, but I got it by Juby et al. This is the psychosocial impact of COVID-19 on different strata of society and suggested intervention. So it's good to read about this and try to apply which one is applicable to us. In fact, the children's, our students actually more on they become stressful because of the assessment system, different, lots of assignment, and some it cannot get the good internet connection. So many things, but as I said, life has to go on, study has to go on, work has to be done. How to stay motivated? Okay, just a little bit about the biology of fear. Why fear here? Because it's really actually related to the anxiety that we have. And to become positive, we've got to know what is our fear. Otherwise, our mind and body will not connected properly. So the fear, anger, the stress, the fear we have is controlled by one structure, left and right, amygdala we call it. It is almond shape. And if you can imagine now, if you are under scan, you got to scan your brain now, because of some divided our brain into thinking brain and emotional brain. So the thinking brain and emotional brain sometimes can be contradicting. For instance, let's say if we watch movie, the movie is supposed to be the horror movie, very scary, very fearful. But if our thinking brain say, this is just expected, so we can't get the emotion inside the movie. So maybe we just laugh. This is all because our thinking brain is rationalizing. So if whenever you see the movie and you feel the fear, you feel the anxiety, the fear, and you feel that you need to close your eyes sometime, and you have to open, close, you go out from the room. That means you are really into that, with your thinking brain and your emotional brain are working together. So, and this is, I got it from this website, and the amygdala is being triggered, and it will control and give signal to other part of the brain, the hypothalamus, the ventral tegmental area, ventromedial, prefrontal cortex. Here is the thinking brain, the prefrontal. The cortex is actually the thinking brain, and the amygdala is, we call it, one is a limbic system. This is the emotional brain, and this is the area that involved with the adrenaline. So the serotonin, dopamine also play roles in the fear, and some of the when we trigger this, and when we see things, when we hear things, when we started to have that kind of emotion, the amygdala will be triggered, stimulate, and will connect to other parts of the brain, so that our body is prepared for to face whatever the consequences. So the stress and fear also, this is controlled by the emotional brain. So if you look at that, the threat we anticipate the coming, the bosses ask for work, for things. So we try, kalau boss, if the boss asks, I still haven't done. So it creates some of the anxiety. So our body start to produce the cortisol. And stress is not a disease. Stress is just a body need to prepare to face the consequences. But stress repeatedly, not dealing properly, so the cortisol will never be back And all these things will become toxic to the nerve system as well. Okay. I think the psychologists and some of us really well versed about what is Lazarus and Fortman said in 1984. How do we cope with stress? Stress coping is one of the ways of how to stay positive. Problem focus aims to remove the stressor. So our stressor now is, we say, is COVID-19, is the coronavirus. Is the police who will put police, MKN, keep on keep on putting us under pressure. You have to, you have to wear your mask all the time. So can we remove them? Cannot. So for problem focus, probably aims to remove the stressor is not suitable here, because we cannot remove COVID-19 yet, and we cannot say to MKN that don't do surveillance on me. Okay, but probably we have the other area that we can use is emotion focus, which is to reduce the emotional response. So kita jaga kita. We do what we can do to our body, to ourselves, to our situation. And the tagline of kita jaga kita is really, really to keep us positive. Just to reduce some of the stress, knows the fact about COVID-19 and knows our work well. So I'm relating the fact here. So the job description must be clear. So because what are the issues sometimes happen that create stress in the workplace is, this is not my job, this is somebody's job. I have done this, but somebody is not. I'm on leave, I don't know this. It happened when I was not around. So we do not have the culture of to know what we are supposed to and to communicate. Reduce screen time here is actually to reduce our anxiety about the COVID. Because of when we look at screen time here means to the TV or computer, the iPad or the iPhone, the mobile phone. So we can reduce, or we just make time. We make time. What is the time that I want to see my phone? Okay, one thing that I always share, and I will inform my staff as well, as it sometimes the message can come from the bosses, from the supervisor at a weird time. Perhaps if the supervisor can tell their subordinate that you can start to do and look at or answer or reply the message around 8 o'clock. But the reason some of the supervisor, macam saya sudah tua, so it just comes, so I just want my staff to know, but there's no need for them to add on that. But we must know when is the emergency. The emergency means if the boss call, that means emergency. So we treat the call as emergency like last time. The message, I'm sure that sometimes we do not know which one is emergency. Everything become urgent to us. And during COVID-19, this pandemic area, sometimes the urgency is no more urgency, except it's life and death situation. Okay, so we can do some exercise. Family time, this is the time to sembahyang jemaah sama-sama. This is the time to understand more, schedule the time. Some families just parents and children, because they are working at home, sometimes it is everyone is in the room. Please make time. We have no time, but making time, allocate time is the word. We can never have time if we do not allocate time. Follow SOP. Why I put here follow SOP? The tips here is to follow standard operating procedure, because all the SOP is made not to put us in danger or difficulties, but to actually to help us, to help us to allay our anxiety. I give you an example. When the government said, or when we say to put the mask, If you put mask and you talk and social physical distancing, there's a chance of for you not to get the infection. But if we didn't do that, and after that we start to have the anxiety, the thought that, oh, am I going to be infected because just now I didn't put my mask on? So really the SOPs or the legal, the undang-undang is not made because if we can be positive in this way, inshallah, the undang-undang, even the legal procedure, the ethical, it's actually to protect us from becoming anxious. But having said that, do we really need to follow that rigidly? If it is legal, yes, we have to follow rigidly because of the consequences may be more detrimental. But if, let's say, we sometimes develop our own SOP, which is probably a little bit too much, that become obsession or paranoia towards the COVID-19. I mean, this example that I can give, if let's say you are very obsessed with cleanliness, I don't think that you have to wash your children 3-4 times, 5 times a day, because of you're afraid that they might got contracted. So must be reliable, realistic as well. Spiritual aspect, yeah. We are Muslim. Even if you're not Muslim, we have our religious activities that teach us how to handle our stress. For instance, because I'm a Muslim, so just like many ways of many ayat say that we ask from Allah all these tests, whoever, this is all tests that to increase our iman and to to get a jannah, a reward in the hereafter. So let's say how to become positive. I choose the word anchor. Anchor here. Face COVID. We can't. There's no way that we can get rid of COVID at this moment. But inshallah, because Allah said in every ailment there will be a cure. So we have to believe in that. Believe that setiap ada penyakit ada ubat dia. We just need to find. Well, this being positive is positive with Allah SWT. Positive with this word. Anchor. But why I choose anchor? Anchor means safety in some. You can imagine we are in the when the storm came, the ship need to drop the anchor. The anchor will stabilize. The safety, hope, strength, security, stabilizing. That is anchor. If you read, what does it really mean by anchor? It means to provide safety. It's a hope as well, because you put the anchor, you drop and become quiet. You give a strength because anchor is just a huge and heavy, and security to this boat or to the ship, and symbolically, metaphorically is to our life, to stabilize. So what is anchor that I meant? A, acknowledge, accept. We have to accept our fear, our anxiety. Is okay. It's okay to not to feel okay. It's okay to feel anxious. We do not expect people to stand to dance happily when COVID comes. That is not normal. So it's very normal to acknowledge, accept. So everyone must accept this. The supervisors, the supervisor, the students, whoever. So we must accept this. And We cannot get rid of these situations. We have to embrace the new norm. And it's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel, just need to acknowledge what is our thinking, what is our mind, what is our emotion. And if we feel that, oh, I shouldn't feel that anxious, even when I used to give example when a patient come to see me with the anxiety, I said that is very normal to have the anxiety. It's at least protect you from becoming. It just give you some rooms for you to do some improvement, to look for, uh, to find some solution about your fear. And even when Rasulullah SAW received the first revelation in Gua Hira, he was very anxious and fearful. So that is very normal. So we have to accept the feeling that we have. What is normal? And we can, after acknowledging this, the bosses ask us to do work. Sometimes we feel like, oh, it is impossible for me to do. It's a very tight deadline, all these things. So being supervisor, least realistic expectation, but being a subordinate, we try to do it as become, because it is part of our job description. But we accept. So I say, okay, I was frustrated. I feel my supervisor shouldn't do this. It just made me feel that I'm not capable. I shouldn't be intimidating like this. My colleague shouldn't look at me as I cannot do this. I can do this. The feeling, the feeling is normal, but to deal with that will tell you whether it is constructive or destructive. If destructive, you probably go and tumbuk, hit the person. But if it is constructive, you just sit down and try to swallow your anger, your frustration first. Give some time to your mind and brain to think and being noticed. Be at the present. You look at that. Apart from your anxiety, anger, you have so many other things that you wanted to do. You wanted to see your family. There's a life is beautiful, not just because of this situation. So there are other things that we can do and we wanted to do, but why we can't do? Because we get hooked with the thought and emotion that brings us again and again to it's like become a vicious cycle. After we notice, we tell ourselves, committed, we can change, compassionate, and we can communicate. The C, so we communicate, get clarification. Sometimes the things doesn't get into the way that we want to do because we fail to communicate, and we like to use our mind, which is we assume, as if, yeah, our thinking. Hopeful, committed to change according to what matters to us. Hopeful, H is don't hope. Value based, we look at our value. Look at our value again. We like the caring part, we're happy to see people's happy. The value, why we come to work, why we are still in UIA. We could have just resigned if we don't want. But what makes us still in this situation? What makes us still want to fight for COVID-19? Because there's a value in us. The value to help the community, to share, to care. We still come to work because of we care to our family. With this money, with the salary, we can we can look after our family better. So partly also we can put some humor. Don't get to stress with if we say don't get too stressed, maybe I'm wrong because the stressful things all are normal. So the first thing is acknowledge, validate is normal. And hopeful, we hope, hopeful. Why I put hopeful here? Because being positive, that means we hope. If we can't hope to ours, if we see that being a Muslim, Allah is there for us. Always that is number one. examine our tawheed. When we say that La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, there's no Allah. There's no tiada Tuhan melainkan Allah Muhammad Rasulullah. So we have to when we for me, I said this tawheed and this kalimah is number one when we want to do a little bit of the CBT into my style, who is using, say, okay, what are we here? What is the purpose of life? So we can use that because of we live. Allah wants us to live. Allah wants us to die. It's not us. Why do we come to work? It's not because of, we can change a bit the terminal, the understanding here. Why do we want to work? Allah asks us to work, to look after your family. I'm giving you Jannah if you become a good parent. So we change a bit into ours, to become, whenever we have that sadness because we are human beings, we acknowledge. But then come back our rational thinking. So one time I asked one of my clients come, I said, I don't want to go to work. The work is like this. I said, okay, in the first place, who asked you to work? So he said, it's a he, and it's my experience, because I work in Arabs before. So I asked this the Arabic man, I asked, who asked you to come to work? He said, I have to work, otherwise I cannot get money. How can I support my family? Then I said, okay, but you don't have to work. You can go to any foundation, you ask for the money, ask for donation, still you get money. You don't have to work. So at the end, he managed to come to the scene that, yeah, actually, because he's quite religious. So we use all these things. If we think that we can use the religious base, then we use some, maybe not suitable. But when he mentioned, I said, yeah, actually I do this because of Allah wants me to do this so that I can get reward, pahala, Jannah, to because of Allah asked me. So it's actually a sense of motivation. Organize in order to, here is organized, prioritize. If you find out that there are the job that you have to do is very difficult, so you can look at the least stressful work that you can. We are hoping that if we start we are hoping that if we start to change some of the things, so it will give domino effect to the rest of the chain. And R here is reflect. Again, after we do something, we reflect. What is this? What could be done next? So reflect ni muhasabah lah, every day. With some situation, something that we do, we always do some reflection. Okay, so I think I have this. If you can't fly, then run. If you can run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving. This is by Martin Luther King, and I will share here. If you are always trying to be normal, you will never know how amazing you can be. So life is full of options. It doesn't static. If we change one option, if fail, we reflect, oh, it doesn't work, then do another option. Life is full of options. As long as it is not go against the legal or religion or your whatever your standards, your whatever your values, because the action also must be based on value. And recently I heard our rector said UIA is a value-based place. So it mean whatever action that we do perhaps must be also directed by our value. And this is from me. Issue is not a problem. How to deal is a problem. So I thank you for your attention. I hope no question asked.
Okay, thank
Oi.
you, Dr. Nora. Maybe we have around 5 minutes. Maybe we have question and answer from participant, please.
Okay. Okay. Mana soalan-soalan? Oh, ini. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Okay, kalau tak ada soalan, semua faham. And the technique, of course, the technique that we can use, the skill is all it can be done by it needs, like, for instance, like I share here, how we can be compassionate to ourselves. So be kind to ourselves. For all you know, our body is not belong to us. It's belong to Allah, right? But we are responsible to look after this. So be kind. And I remember one hadith in Malay, like I put it in Malay, that tidak beriman, kamu sehingga kamu mengasihi saudara kamu sebagaimana mengasihi diri sendiri. So the hadith also said for us to kasih, to love yourself. So as I think the brother Saiful mentioned about some of the things that we do have limitations. So we do what we can do, but this life is full of options. So this option, A, B, C, we can always try. And if it doesn't work, we have another option. And because at the end of the day, we want to go back to our kampung halaman. We want to go back kampung halaman, as what Muslim believe. We are coming from Jannah. So we are going back to Jannah. So that is another ways of we feel that we can use whenever we feel down, just acknowledge that we feel sad. It's okay. But after that, what can we do next? So Alhamdulillah, thank you to MSD, and perhaps we can meet in some other time. So thank you very much for all your kind attention and also arranging these activities. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okey, mungkin kalau kita tak dapat semua, mungkin kita boleh dapat sedikit, dan yang sedikit tu kita dapat kongsikan bersama yang lain. InsyaAllah, thank you again to Nora Mat Zin for the inspiring session with us. So if since goes before, if participants have any question, can directly email to the doctor.
Yeah, I share my email on the first slide.
Sorry, doctor.
No, I think you can get my email. The first slide also I can share the slide to MST.
Okay, sure. So thank you. Kita tutup session kita with tasbih kafarah dan surah wal-asr. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, amin amin. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you at the next session. Bye bye.